You've seen her. She walks into a room and everything about her says, "I've got this." Her smile is polite, perfectly timed. Her laughter, light and appropriate. She never misses a birthday, responds to every message, and always knows the right thing to say to make others feel comfortable. She's organized, responsible, and seemingly calm under pressure. On the surface, she appears to be thriving. But look a little closer. There's a pause in her voice when the conversation turns personal. A flicker in her eyes when someone asks, "How are you really?" She seems present, but something's missing. Because deep inside, she's living a life that doesn't quite feel like her own. She's been performing for so long that she can't remember who she was before the performance began. A grown woman on the outside, but inside there's a quiet ache, a sense that something essential was skipped, that life has been moving forward, yet she remains frozen in place. This isn't the story of loud trauma or chaos. It's the silent pressure of being the one who holds everything together. It's the emotional training that taught her to smile even when she was breaking. As Carl Jung once said, "What we do not bring to consciousness appears in our lives as fate." And for her, fate feels like a role she never chose, but still plays to perfection. She isn't weak, she's exhausted from pretending. Before we go deeper, take a moment to like this video, leave a comment if it resonates, and subscribe to Soulful Wisdom Journey, where we explore the quiet truths that shape us all. Now let's go back to where it began. 1. The childhood that taught her to perform. She grew up in a house that looked fine. No yelling, no slammed doors. The fridge was full, the curtains clean. Family photos lined the walls like a catalog of happy moments. But underneath, love was conditional. Her father wasn't violent or loud. He didn't need to be. His coldness was quieter, sharper. He believed love had to be earned. A good grade, a polite silence, a helpful gesture. Those were rewarded with a quick nod, maybe a short, "good job" before he returned to his newspaper. But when she cried, when she needed comfort or showed uncertainty, he vanished into stillness. Jung called this the birth of a complex, when a child's longing for love becomes tangled with performance. She learned quickly, be perfect or dad disappears. Her mother, on the other hand, was always there. There. Every mess cleaned up before it became real. Every frustration intercepted, every failure softened. It seemed like protection, but there was a hidden message in it. You can't handle life alone. Let me do it for you. And so the contradiction was born. Hyper-capable on the outside, emotionally unsure within, independent in tasks, dependent in worth. A child praised for responsibility, yet robbed of freedom. She became the good girl, the helpful one, the smiling one. The girl who never caused problems, never asked for too much, never showed anger, never cried too loudly. She built a persona, a social mask carefully designed to win approval and avoid rejection. And the world applauded. Teachers adored her. Family members bragged about her. She became exactly what everyone wanted, but no one ever asked what she needed. Inside, she was walking a tightrope. If she did too well, she feared being seen as arrogant. If she fell short, she feared becoming invisible. She hid her rage because anger was dangerous. She buried her sadness because sadness made her a burden. She minimized herself, kept quiet, stayed agreeable. Jung warned, the persona becomes dangerous when we forget there's a real face underneath. And that's exactly what happened. She forgot. 2. The woman who grows up, but never feels grown years. Past, she got older. On paper, she's an adult, maybe even successful. She works, she pays the bills. She's in a relationship, or maybe not. But either way, she knows how to survive. Thriving, though? That still feels like someone else's story. People tell her she looks young for her age. They mean it as a compliment. But for her, it's more than just genetics. It's survival. She's learned to stay light, playful, easygoing, because the weight of responsibility terrifies her. She jokes about being bad at adulting, but beneath the humor, there's fear. Fear of choosing the wrong path. fear of being stuck, fear of committing to a life she's not sure she wants. She starts new hobbies, new jobs, new relationships, and each one feels like maybe this time. Maybe this will be the thing that finally makes her feel alive. But soon enough, the familiar restlessness returns, that quiet emptiness, the need to run. She tells herself she's spontaneous, adventurous. But deep down, she wonders, why can't I stay? Jung had a name for this, puer aeternus, the eternal youth, or in her case, puella eterna, the eternal girl. A woman who resists growing up not because she's immature, but because adulthood has always looked like stress, disappointment, and silence. She's never seen it done with love. She doesn't trust stability because she's never felt safe within it. She's emotionally intelligent, yes. She can sense when a friend needs comfort, hold space for other people's grief, give brilliant advice. But when it comes to her own heart, she hesitates. She overthinks. She doubts. She calls it being careful. Others call it being thoughtful. But deep down, it's fear. Fear of being wrong. Fear of being judged. Fear of being seen and not accepted. And when she tries to rest, she can't. Because rest feels like laziness, like failure. Even when she's alone, her inner critic is loud. You should be doing more. You should be better by now. From the outside, she seems fine, but inside, she's a house with a leaking roof hidden behind polished walls. 3. The awakening that begins in silence. She watches other women, the ones who seem confident, grounded, sure of themselves. How do they do it, she wonders. How do they make choices without spiraling into anxiety? How do they trust their own voices? How do they walk into a room and take up space without apologizing for it? She feels both too young and too old. Young in her emotions, old in her exhaustion. She wants to be taken seriously, but serious things make her nervous. She wants deep love, but needing someone feels dangerous. She wants freedom, but she doesn't know what to do with it once it's in her hands. Carl Jung once said, "We repeat what we do not repair." And she is repeating the same old lesson over and over. Be what others need. Keep them comfortable. Don't take up too much space. But something is shifting. There's a new voice inside her now, quiet but persistent. It speaks up when she finds herself smiling just to be polite. It whispers when she's about to explain herself, just to avoid disappointing someone. It asks, what if you just stopped? What if you stopped explaining, stopped performing, stopped proving? What if you simply were? And that wondering, that moment of hesitation, that is the beginning. The first crack in the mask, the first breath of her real self trying to rise. It doesn't come with fireworks. It's not dramatic. It's slow, like old paint peeling from a wall. Barely noticeable at first, until one day something flakes off, and underneath, she sees something unexpected. Not perfection, not control, but truth. Her truth. Before we go on, if this journey is resonating with you, if you've ever felt like you're wearing a mask just to get through the day, take a second to like this video, leave a comment, and subscribe to Soulful Wisdom Journey. You're not alone, and you don't have to pretend anymore. 4. Seeing the family through new eyes. Something inside her shifts. She finds herself looking at her parents differently now, not through resentment, but through clarity. She sees the patterns for what they were, not acts of cruelty, but unconscious survival strategies. Her mother, so attentive, so involved, wasn't trying to smother her. She just didn't know how to let go without falling apart herself. Her father, cold, withdrawn, wasn't trying to punish her. He simply never learned how to be soft because no one had ever been soft with him. Jung once said, "The unlived life of the parent becomes the burden of the child." And that burden? It shaped her. She became easy, calm, low maintenance. She made herself smaller to keep the peace, not because she wanted to deceive anyone, but because that's what love looked like in that house. agreeable, polite, invisible. She wore calmness like a costume. She kept the temperature of the room comfortable, even when it froze her from the inside out. And now, for the first time, she sees the invisible contracts she signed. Don't challenge. Don't be too loud. Don't be too sad. Don't be too much. It hits her, not as rage, but as grief. Because now she understands something she didn't before. The way she learned to be lovable was by being useful, predictable, pleasant. She was trained to soothe, not to feel. And so her emotions, the messy, inconvenient, powerful ones, were buried. Her anger, her desire, her doubt, her voice, all of it pushed down. She was raised to be good, not real. But now real is starting to rise. She laughs louder, says no without apology, holds her boundaries with quiet conviction, and some people cheer. They say, "You've changed. You seem stronger." But others, they flinch. They say she's distant, cold. "You used to be so easy." They miss the version of her that made their lives easier, even if it cost her own. And part of her still cares. Not because she wants to go back, but because the old wiring still twitches when people are disappointed, when her father avoids eye contact, when his silence becomes heavier than words. That sting is still there, but now there's another voice, one that says, "You're allowed to live without his approval." And that voice, it's growing stronger. 5. Becoming whole. One sacred step at a time. She begins to pull back, not out of spite, but out of self-preservation. She doesn't call as often. She doesn't explain herself every time she chooses peace over performance. She gives herself space, not to hurt anyone, but to finally breathe. Because now she knows there are places, people, and roles that make her shrink, that invite the old self, the performer, back into the spotlight. And she can't afford to go backwards. Not now. Not when she's finally hearing her own voice beneath all the noise. Carl Jung said, "The path to selfhood requires withdrawal from the collective." And so she steps back. From family who only knew her as easy. From friendships built on her compliance. From expectations she never chose. And it hurts. Not because she's losing them, but because she's grieving the version of herself she had to become to keep them. She walks through her apartment in silence. Not the kind of silence that feels empty, but the kind that feels sacred. It's in this quiet that she begins to hear someone she's never truly met. Herself. She makes her morning coffee without rushing. She doesn't reply to messages out of guilt. She moves her body gently. Feels instead of fixes. She listens, really listens, to her thoughts instead of drowning them in noise. She no longer fills the silence with other people's voices. She fills it with her own. And yes, it's scary to not know who you're becoming, to walk without a map, to live without a script. But it's also beautiful because for the first time in her life, she's not performing. She's becoming. And if this is you, if your mask is starting to crack, if you're starting to see your story more clearly, if you're stepping back to finally step in, hear this. You are not broken. You are unfolding. And that unfolding requires space. It requires silence. It requires truth. This is not the end of your connection to others. It is the beginning of your connection to yourself. And from there, the rest will find its rightful place. You are becoming whole, and that is more than enough. If this video touched something in you, if you recognize yourself in these words, take a moment to subscribe to Soulful Wisdom Journey, like this video, and share your experience in the comments. Your story matters, and you are not alone. We'll see you in the next video.